Hey everyone, James Lynch here doing a quick reaction video to the news that Alex Volkanovski will defend his featherweight title against Movsar Evolev at UFC 333 in Abu Dhabi. Now, at the time I'm recording this, it's not public knowledge, but I got the heads up. This fight is a done deal. I'm sure they're going to announce it here soon. Well, if you're watching this, they obviously have announced it because I like doing these ahead of time. That way I can get the news out quicker and sooner rather than later. But at the time I'm recording this, July 25th, you can see they announced that Abu Dhabi is happening October 24th. My understanding is they're doing 2 pay-per-views that month. I think Utah is the other one. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know if this is the main event or not. I mean, either way, it's 5 rounds. I don't think it really matters, and we can still talk about this fight. I'm hoping at the time you're watching this, they do determine that. But thank God this fight's finally happening. I mean, this has been, a fight that people have wanted to see for a while. I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comments saying, oh, no one wants to see this fight. Movsar's boring, whatever. I don't have time for that. I want to see the best fight the best. Movsar Evolev is one of the best at 145. He's undefeated, 20-0. Can Volk be the first guy to hand him his loss? That's what we're going to find out in this fight. I'm intrigued by the matchup. It's not going to be a fight of the year candidate or anything like that, but I want to see Volkanovski tested, especially at this stage in his career. How much does he have left? Can he get it done? Let's do a quick tail of the tape between these two. So Volkanovski, you see, is 28-4. He's 37 years old. He's going to be 38 by the time this fight happens, right? Because it's October 24th. He turns 38 September 29th. So age not really on his side. He's 5'6" with a 71.5-inch reach. Movsar Evolev is 32. So what do we got? So 38 to 32, that's what, 6-year age gap. And then 5'7", 72.5-inch reach. So he's only an inch taller. Got a slight reach advantage. So height and reach wise, Volk's actually fighting someone that's similar to his size. Usually Volkanovski's much smaller than his opponents, and he's still been able to get it done and become victorious. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at there. Volk's last fight was the rematch against Diego Lopez, which nobody really wanted to see, I guess, other than the UFC. And I thought Volk had a very good performance in that rematch. I thought an even more decisive win than the first fight. You thought maybe Diego Lopez could make some adjustments, maybe could knock him out. He had some success in the first fight about that. But if we go look at those 2 fights against Diego Lopez, first fight especially, 158 to 63 in significant strikes. What they don't tell you on the stats here is Volk got dropped in that fight. So that's one thing. But the rematch, a little bit closer in the significant strikes, but I still thought Volk won every round. First round, they were even as far as the strikes go. Second round was Volk. Third round was Volk. Fourth round was Volk. Fifth round was certainly Volk. So he looked very good and very solid in this matchup. So yeah, it's hard to say. And I still think Diego Lopez is a very good fighter. We saw him obviously get that win over Steve Erceg on the White House, or sorry, not Steve Erceg, Steve Garcia. I'm watching the Abu Dhabi cards. I'm getting mixed up with the Steve Erceg and Steve Garcia. So Diego Lopez getting the win over Steve Garcia. And then outside of that, I mean, he's got 2 losses to 2 really good fighters here in Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev. I know Topuria is coming off that loss to Gaethje, but Topuria is, knocking everyone out at 145, including Max Holloway. So listen, he got caught. There was some talk of, did he come back too soon to take that fight? I certainly am here for that argument for sure. So it's tough to say. Again, his only losses are to Ilia, Islam, and Islam. And, again, Ilia knocks pretty much everyone out and was able to get it done in the second round. Ilia doesn't finish that fight in the second round, as we saw against Gaethje. Could Volk win that fight? I think there's a possibility that could happen. But overall, we're talking about one of the smartest fighters in UFC history. Great fight IQ, good game planning. Taken not that much damage. That's another thing you got to look at. I know he's been knocked out twice, but if you look at Volkanovski's overall striking defense at 58%, for a guy who's turning 38 and his striking defense is at 58%, very impressive there. But he's not even really going to have to worry about it because Movsar Evolev, you can look at his stats a little bit here. More of a grappler, wrestler type, does have some striking. I don't think he has many. Yeah, he's only got 3 knockout wins in his career. I don't think Volk has to worry too much about the striking in this fight. He would have to worry more about the wrestling, grappling in this spot. And that is one interesting thing. Like if we go look at Volk's career, who has he fought that's really been a wrestler grappler? Islam's probably been the only one recently. I know Diego Lopez has implemented some wrestling in his game, but pretty much Islam and then maybe Brian Ortega a bit, but he's mainly fought strikers. So that's where the matchup itself is going to get a little bit interesting here. Can Volk deal? Well, I'm sure he can deal with it, but just the style matchup here. And if you look at this significant strikes landed per minute, 3.91, that's a fairly low number. Striking accuracy is at 47%. Takedown average is 4.78. That's something he's going to have to get used to, as Volk's takedown average is 1.63. His takedown defense is 68%. That will certainly be tested here against Movsar Evolev, who's able to get 9 takedowns on Lerone Murphy. Got 4 on Aljamain Sterling, who's a very good wrestler. Also 5 on Arnold Allen, 4 on Diego Lopez, 9 on Dan Ige. So we know this is a guy who gets takedowns. If you look at Volk's career, did surrender 2 takedowns to Diego Lopez. Islam didn't get any takedowns, although that was a quick fight. The first Islam fight, he got 4 takedowns. So I think it's, he'll probably get taken down in the spot. But the question is, can Movsar do much with it? As we've seen in most of his fights, he doesn't finish a lot. Lerone Murphy, a majority decision in that one. In fact, that fight was fairly close. If you look at the scorecards for that one, I want to say, well, I think most people did score it for Movsar Evolev, but let's have a look at the scorecards on that one. Yeah, actually, most had it a draw, or most had it for Murphy. Wow, I didn't even realize that. I spoke too soon. So you see, most people felt like Evolev didn't even deserve to win that fight, and more people scored it for Murphy. Interesting. So there we go. Maybe not as invincible as we thought. But again, he's got some quality wins here. Sterling's a good win. Murphy's a good win. Allen's a good win. Diego Lopez was short notice. Right? So that's the big question. Is Volk going to be too much of a big step up to take on a guy like, or is Evolev going to have too much on his hands here against Volk? By the way, did mention Aljamain Sterling. My understanding is Sterling will be the backup for this fight, which I think is the right call. Sterling has certainly earned that with his big win over Eustace Alal in his last fight. Now, as far as the odds go in this fight, I still think Volk will be favored here just because he is not really, he's got 1 loss at featherweight, and that was to Topuria like 2 years ago. I think he'll still be favored. I could see him being almost a 2-1 favorite. If for some reason Evolev is the favorite here, and maybe they think, well, he's undefeated at 20-0 and he's younger, he'll be the favorite here, I would put some money on Volkanovski. I think Volkanovski can win this fight. Will he win this fight? That it's tough to say, but I think the Lerone Murphy fight, and I know not every fight's the same, but I don't think he looked as dominant as we maybe thought. And I think Murphy, very well-rounded guy, kind of like Volk here. I could see Volk, landing some better shots, maybe, getting a few takedowns on there, but Evolev not being able to do too much. I'm kind of leaning Volk decision on this one. I will do an early look preview on this and dig into this one a little bit more as far as the odds go. But I think Evoyev's kind of one of those interesting cases where he's winning fights, but he's not really doing it in a way where you think that he could be some huge threat to the current champ right now. Again, Sterling was another close fight with Evolev. If you go look at the scorecards for that one, I don't know if anyone scored it for Sterling, but I certainly remember it being close on the scorecards here. So yeah, most had it Evolev. Actually, 5 people had it for Sterling. And again, they only had him 29-28. So that's the thing. I think Volk is going to be a big step up here for Movsar Evolev. The question is that going to be enough to get it done? And you got to wonder too for Volk, let's be honest here, he's kind of going into someone else's backyard. I know Evoyev's from Russia. You don't need to give me a geography lesson here, but he is Muslim, and you got to imagine the fans are going to be on his side. They want to see him win, right? I think that's why they're doing this fight in Abu Dhabi, because Evolev is Muslim, and they're going to have a lot of support for him in this fight. But nonetheless, I think the big question with this fight is, if Volk does win this, what happens after this? Is he going to keep fighting? Volk, you'd hope, is the type of guy to know when to step away. But if you stick around too long, you're gonna rack up some losses. And you rarely see guys like Khabib who get out early and get out maybe at the right time. Volk's lost 4 times, but the point I'm making is that we don't want to see Volk get to that point where he sticks around a bit too long and then he starts racking up losses. We don't want to see that. But I just think the style fight, if Volk was fighting another really good power puncher, like a Topuria again, I'd probably lean more towards that side and be a little bit more worried about it. But with the matchup here with Evolev, the fact that he's more of a wrestler grappler, and while his striking is good, I don't think it's anything Volk hasn't seen before. So yeah, long story short, I think Volk wins this. That's my early pick. I'll do an in-depth breakdown on that now. And again, at the time of recording this, I'm not sure if this is a main event or not. I just know it's going to be 5 rounds, and it is going to be on this card. So was this a fight to make? I don't think there'll be much of a debate here. Maybe people wanted to see someone else. I'm not sure. And what's your pick on this one? I think this will be close. I'm going to do a pros picks on this too. Curious to see how people are picking in this one, but I want to know your early prediction for this one. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.